called a town council regular meeting of May 14th to order. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. We got quite a bit of stuff here on the agenda there, so I will try to move it along as quickly as. I'd also like to welcome those who are watching by way of internet. I usually forget that, but tonight my brains must be working right. Okie dokie, on the calendar, we have the town offices will be closed. Thank you. On the calendar, we have on Monday, May 27th, the town offices will be closed for Memorial Day. And then our next regular session of board meeting will be May 28th, will be our next meeting. Okay. On public comment, we don't have any other than those of these folks are for the public hearing, correct? Everything you have is for the public hearing, so we'll save all those folks there for we've got quite a bit there, and so we'll just save those for that time, that period there. Okay, additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes,
Does anyone have any?
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to add item number 9, Hazelwood parking issues. I think Rob sent out a summary yesterday for that,
Okay.
so I'd like to add that.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So like sign. Okay, all right, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
I move we adopt consent agenda.
Before we do that,
What we got? Someone.
before we do that, on the agenda is, removing, absentee board members and commission members. And in regards to the planning board and Peggy Hanna, I would, like to see her seat retained. I understand that she has missed quite a number of meetings. I did speak with her and
So do we need to move that to the regular agenda to have a discussion?
sure,
So that's a motion to amend the consent
Yes.
agenda?
yes.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I need to ask a question.
But-
I'd like to know if you have a problem or you think that's fine.
Is this a,
It has to do with water work. The water work, the water work. What?
Did you?
And we have a general public comment that did not submit a slip.
Oh, you have somebody for just a regular comment?
Does the board wish to go back to allow this individual to speak during public comment?
I do.
I agree. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we'll go back and have your public comment.
Can we finish the consent agenda here?
Mhm.
Yes. I move we adopt the consent agenda with the deletion of item I, the addition of the Hazelwood Park.
Okay.
Oh, no, well, the Hazelwood parking is going on the regular agenda, not the consent.
Yeah, we need to move item.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We need to move item I to the regular
Yeah, it's moved
agenda.
to the agenda.
Okay, I move we adopt the consent agenda with the omission of item I.
Okay, got a motion?
Second.
Second, Julie, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, for the like sign. Okay, ma'am, you're welcome to come up and speak as a public comment if you'd like.
I've been here before. And agree with the.
Before you start, ma'am, I'd like to let the town attorney explain the rules for the public comment.
That's for the public hearing.
No, this is public
I
comment. Oh, she-
know,
has
I'm
3
saying
minutes.
I will read the rules for the
Oh,
public
okay.
hearing for the
Oh,
long view
okay, for the
subdivision.
public, All right, for the public comment time, there's a 3-minute time limit. And the town attorney, she will keep that 3-minute time limit. So if you get close to that, she will let you know.
Well, I'm gonna try not
And
to
you need
take
to
up too
give
much
your,
of your
if you don't
time.
mind, give your name.
Yeah. I have some paperwork for you.
Ma'am, could
Um,
you give your name to the clerk, please?
Sure. Margaret Jones.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I live at
We don't
1125.
have to worry about that.
Okay. I have paperwork here for y'all too. I was here in 2017. I've been living in the family home. My mother passed away in 2012. We have never got flooded the whole time my parents have lived there until they built the school. And that was in 1999, they built the school. And they didn't allow for drainage. So they kept building. I came in 2017, brought this paperwork where 3,500 gallons flows into Eagles Nest Creek. It broke the pipes under my house. It's ruined the fence. It's ruined the foundation on my home. And the town came out. We gave them a right of way along the side of the fence to put pipe in for the drainage. The pipe wasn't big enough. So they told me that in order to get the pipe, and Mr. Haney was with Public Works then, and he said that to get the pipe, I would have to pay $3,500 for the pipe, and they would do the work. Well, FEMA came out. They said in 2020, I got flooded 9 times. I filed on my insurance because when the water comes down, it's not just rainwater. It comes down from Eagles Nest because they didn't allow for drainage. And I came in 2017, brought the paperwork in, hoping that they would not build anymore until they got this fixed. But they went ahead and built apartments up on Pot Creek. So that's more water. And I've got pictures of that I'll leave with you to show you how much water. Enough water to bust the pipes under my house, enough water to ruin the fence, the foundation, and then I have to sleep. And it's not just rainwater, sewer water mixed in with it. And they kept saying they were going to fix this. The Public Works has sent 7 men out to my house and said, we have no problem, we're going to fix it. We want you to give us the right of way along the side of the fence. Well, my mom did. She gave them right away because the deed's in her name. But the pipe is too small. They need to put bigger pipe in. I'm the only one that gets flooded besides Eagles Nest Grocery. They get flooded when I get flooded. And if you get 3 to 4 inches of rain up on Eagles Nest, we get flooded every time. And this has been going on for 20 years. And I need help. I don't have the money. I'm 80 years old. I'm on Social Security. I don't have the money to buy pipe to fix this problem.
What you need to do, ma'am, is set an appointment with our town manager and sit down and give him your information. And that's something that he can handle. So if you would, give him, you want your name and address or phone number, or what do you want?
If you'll just give me your address.
Well,
1125. My house.
Okay.
My house was in the
The guy,
paper.
the assistant town manager back there said he would get your information.
It was in the paper showing flooding ahead.
Uh-huh.
And that's Sulphur Spring Road right across from Fifth Street.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm the only one that gets flooded. What I want out of it, they went up on my flood insurance. I want what I've had to pay for flood insurance, what I had to pay for busted pipes. The insurance only paid $1,200 for the busted pipes. I had to pay another $5. And I want my fence fixed. And the foundation, I don't know. It could be gone on the house.
You can get, I've got you set up to where you can get an appointment with the town manager and speak with him about.
Okay.
There's nothing.
I
we
have
can
been
do.
speaking with Public Works for months, and they kept saying, well, if you sign us a right of way on the other side of the fence, which they've already got one on one side, If you'll sign one on the other side, that's my high side. That's the only place I can put my car to keep my car from getting flooded. It's not good, it's bad, and I have to deal with this.
Then he will
Thank you.
speak with you about it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. We'll move along. Got a presentation about the final mural concept for the Pigeon Community Multicultural Development Center. Our assistant manager, Jesse Fowler. Oh, we got somebody else.
I'll be standing in. My name is George Kenny. I'm the chair of the Waynesville Public Art Commission.
Yes, sir.
And we want to show you the final rendering tonight. This mural's been approved by the Public Art Commission and the leadership of the Pigeon Community Multicultural Development Center. The project is a culmination of 2.5 years' work. There have been many opportunities for public input and listening sessions. This final image is 60 feet wide and 12 feet tall on the exterior of the Pigeon Center. It represents past, present, and future of the Pigeon Street School and the PCMBC. It has much history and symbolism in it, and we're asking for your approval and endorsement tonight. If there are any questions that I can't answer for you, the artist, Christy McCarthy, can be available by phone. She's painting in New York City tonight.
Okay.
And she's available if we have any questions.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, that's going to be an asset to that community over there. Does anyone have any questions?
No, I think Christy did a very good presentation the last time she was here.
Right.
I'll make a motion. You want to?
I just, real quick, on the left side, my mother actually taught at the Pigeon school back years and years ago, and is on the left side. Those are images of
The three, yes, original teachers.
Okay, cool. That's beautiful. So, sure. Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we accept this this final render of the public art project.
Okay. Got a motion, second by Julia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so like sign. Tell her to go to work.
It's
beautiful.
going to start at the end of June.
Wow.
On June 22nd is a community painting day. If you'd like to come out and paint by numbers, we'd really be glad to have you participate. No skill required.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have a lot of that.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. All right, still moving on. The next is a proclamation for our National Public Works Week. What I'd like you to notify, like all these folks here, when you see your garbage man, or you see a fireman, or you see a police officer, please thank them for their services. If you would, please thank them for their services that they do for you citizens out there. That would be awesome. But I do have a proclamation that I'll read for the National Public Service Week. It's whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are vitally important to our standability and resilient communities and to the public health and high quality of life and well-being of the people of the town of Waynesville. Whereas these infrastructures and facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals or who are engineers, managers, and all employees at all levels of government and private sector who are responsible for rebuilding and improving and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens and civic leaders and children of the town of Waynesville to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and the public works program in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association and the Canadian Public Works Association, be it now resolved, I, Mayor Gary Caldwell, do hereby designate the week May 19th through the 25th, 24 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and the government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designated to pay tribute to our public works professionals, the engineers, the managers, and the employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and advancing quality of life. In witness thereof, I hereby set my hand and cause the seal of the state to affix at the town of Waynesville this 14th day, May 2024. So please, when you see one of our guys out there, please just say thank you. Thank you for your services. I would truly appreciate that. Okay, move right along here. We've got this public hearing tonight to consider Longview subdivision additional district map amendment application section 2.7 and 15.15 of the land development standards. I'll ask my town attorney if she would to kind of go over the rules of the public hearing.
So this is Rule 36 from the meeting procedure adopted by the board on August 8, 2023 for public hearings. The conduct of public hearings will be as follows. Public hearings shall be conducted by the presiding officer. In this case, that's the mayor. The presiding officer shall determine first whether any individuals withstanding to offer evidence or to contest or appeal the decision of the council wish to make a presentation during the public hearing. This requirement does not apply tonight because it is a legislative decision. Prior to opening any public hearing, the presiding officer shall advise those in attendance of the rules to be followed if there are any individuals other than town employees who will offer evidence or comment. Presiding officer or another person authorized by law may administer oaths when required. The presiding officer may delegate the task of monitoring the time allotted for the hearing for each speaker to the town attorney or the town clerk. The total time for the public hearing shall be limited to 1 hour. The council may, in its discretion, extend the time allotted for a public hearing by a majority vote of the members actually in attendance and not excused from voting. After opening the public hearing, the presiding officer shall first recognize any town employees to provide information concerning the subject matter of the public hearing. Following the presentation of any town employees, the presiding officer shall next recognize the applicant or petitioner, if any. The time allotted for the applicant or petitioner shall be limited to 10 minutes. The council may, in its discretion, extend the time allotted for public comment by a majority vote of the members actually in attendance and not excused from voting. The time allotted for public comment shall be limited to 30 minutes. Before making their remarks, individuals making a comment during this period shall provide their full name and their I need to change that. Shall provide their full name. Each individual shall be allowed no more than 3 minutes to make their comments, and no person may speak more than once. The council may, in its discretion, extend the time allotted for any individual or allow an individual to speak more than once by majority vote of the members actually in attendance and not excused from voting. The council may, in its discretion, and by a majority vote of the members actually in attendance and not excused from voting, allow groups of aligned individuals who have retained a licensed professional to speak on their behalf during the public comment period to combine their allotted time to permit the professional to exceed the 3-minute limit. No such professional, however, shall be permitted to speak longer than 10 minutes, regardless of the number of individuals represented. For the purposes of this section, a licensed professional shall mean an individual licensed in a learned profession, including but not limited to engineering, law, medicine, etc., by the appropriate licensing body and authorized to practice within that profession in the state of North Carolina. Individuals providing comment during the public comment period are permitted to express their concerns or opinions about the issues under discussion or share facts, data, or other information which may assist the council in its deliberation. But they may not ask questions of the mayor, town council, or town officers or employees, make personal attacks on the applicant, petitioner, members of the council or mayor, or any other persons which are not pertinent to the subject matter of the public hearing, or generally expound on matters which are wholly unrelated and irrelevant to the subject matter of the public hearing. Following the conclusion of the public comment period, the town attorney may recognize a town employee to provide additional information to address any concerns raised during public comment. The town attorney may then recognize the applicant or petitioner, if any, to provide a rebuttal to address concerns raised during public comment. At the conclusion of the public hearing, the presiding officer shall close the public hearing. We have one individual who appears to be an attorney who has requested an extension to the 10-minute period. Mr. Cogburn, how many individuals do you represent?
Well, individual, some of those are, property owners, but it's also, some which are here, I would ask that my request on impact. So you're there, they're not, that is the big.
So how many of your clients are absent?
The majority of
Okay, so it would exceed 10 minutes if they each individually spoke. Okay. Does the board wish to allow Mr. Cogburn to speak for 10 minutes instead of 3?
We want to-
They make a motion.
I'll make a motion to allow Mr.
Cogburn,
to speak for 10 minutes. on
Second.
behalf of-
Second.
Mr.
John.
Cogburn, we'll call you first. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, I'll also ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
Make that one.
A motion with Chuck,
Second.
second with Anthony, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So like sign. Okay, Ms. Oga, if you would, Ms. Oga is our town representative that is going to speak first tonight.
Olga Gruman, Assistant Development Services Director. This is a public hearing for Longview Subdivision Conditional District. The project proposes to use 3.49 acres of a 102-acre property, and I'll read the PIN for the record: 8604999023. The proposed site plan is a subdivision of 12 single-family homes. The property is located within the corporate limits of Waynesville and within Country Club low-density district. If the conditional district is approved, it would amend the zoning map and it would create Country Club residential low-density conditional district where the LDS requirements, zoning requirements will be relaxed for this development. The applicant is asking flexibility in lot size, lot width, setback, design guidelines, civic space, alternative landscaping plan, and driveway standards. Although the applicant is asking for these categories, the staff would like to submit that many of them actually don't require leniencies as proposed. So the plan is compliant with several of these requirements. So I will defer to the applicant to elaborate why they're asking for these exemptions if they're compliant as proposed. So this is a legislative procedure where the planning board makes a recommendation and the town council may approve with conditions or attach any other reasonable conditions to the proposed site plan, and the leniency is requested. The planning board report with recommendations is attached to your agenda packet. Today with us, we do have representatives from the applicant team, Patrick Bradshaw and Emily Clark. As part of public notice notification, we provided notices of this public hearing by posting the property, by sending the letters adjacent property owners within 500 feet and by advertising the 2 weeks. The applicant also held a neighborhood meeting on February 19th, and the materials and attendance page are attached to your agenda packet. The subdivision of 12 homes is proposed on the 3.49 acre lot. Single-family homes are permitted outright in this district. And the Country Club Residential Low Density District has the following purpose in land development standards, and I will read that verbatim. The Country Club Residential Low Density District is an area predominantly comprised of large lot subdivisions with the Waynesville Country Club serving as its social and recreational center. While single-family homes are the dominant residential use in this area, townhouses and accessory apartments are also permitted. Connections to the South Main Street Business District should be enhanced as new development takes place. A residential scale is required for all new development. Tree preservation and proliferation along the South Main Street corridor is critical to the ambience of the area. Although the district is designated as low density, the staff would like to submit that within the 2035 comprehensive land use plan map, this property specifically, you can see this circle on the bottom, is designated as residential medium to high density within this long vision plan. What this designation means is that located on lands suitable for high density residential development that are rail accessible and where utilities are available, uses are the same, with the densities going 5 to 10 units per acre. So this is within the long vision plan map, the designation for this property specifically. The low density residential district has a base density of 6 units per acre and up to 12 units with a special use permit. The project proposes 12 homes on 3.49 acres. They are within the base density. The density for the site plan is 3.4 units per acre as proposed. The Country Club Residential Low Density has a minimum lot size of 0.5 acres and a minimum lot width of 60 feet. As a part of conditional district, the developer is asking to waive these requirements, lot size and lot width standards. The proposed units are on the lots that vary from 0.13 acres to 0.27 acres. In our residential districts, even the most dense ones, the minimum lot size is 0.16 of an acre. So we found 2, possibly 3 lots that would be below the minimum size for any district. Majority would at least meet the minimum lot size for other residential districts, but not for this district specifically. The lot width for low density district is 60 feet, but we measure lot width at the front building line, not at the road frontage. The lots are compliant as proposed. Developer is asking for leniency, and I would defer to them why they're asking, because they are compliant with this requirement. The low density district has the following setback requirements: front and street side and rear are 20 feet, side from adjacent lot 10 feet, and minimum setback between any structures is 10 feet. The developer is asking for leniency from setback requirements. If the council approves that, the building separation will still be guided by building and fire codes. Minimum pervious surface requirement for low density is 20%. The project is using 3.5 acres of 102 acre property, so they are compliant with that requirement. Maximum building height is 60 feet in this district or 3 stories, and I included the definition of the measurement. So we measure the building height from the highest adjacent grade to the top of the flat roof or to the pinch of the pinched roof. The story itself, though, is no more than 14 feet, 1/4, and it would not include the pinch side of the roof. It would only be to the flat side. The project is compliant. The applicant submitted building elevations. This is the new addition. That they indicate that the houses are 35 feet from the lowest level of the finished floor to the top of the roof. So they are well within that requirement. That's the crosscut sections. And this is the topo line with the 5 feet topo increments. You can see that the property slopes a little bit downhill from the road on the right side. And this is the cross section again with the elevation. So they are within the district requirements. The applicant asked for a design flexibility by our land development standards for subdivisions and residential lots that are wider than 50 feet. We would not require them as a part of a conditional district. The applicant needs to give new information about design guidelines and materials. And you session new agenda, and I'll read some highlights from it. The restricted architectural design guidelines. Compatible architectural styles. Height restriction, 35 feet maximum building height. Square footage maximum 3,200. Materials, natural materials, composite materials, replicating natural materials are preferred. No vinyl or PVC materials are allowed. Colors, earth tones and colors indicative of local architectural styles. An architectural review committee will be a 4-step process. The committee is comprised of design professionals and team members. Licensed general contractors must be approved by the architectural review committee. Next, infrastructure. The plan indicates the proposed water and sewer service lines. We do have a letter in the agenda by Public Services Director confirming the attached letter that the town could provide water and sewer distribution to this location. Additionally, the developer has provided the memorandum by the NCDQ that is attached to your agenda. It clarifies the calculations for sewer allocation and establishes that they're established by the state. Based on that, the sewer services are available to this subdivision. Connectivity. The project will connect to the Longview Drive on 2 sides via proposed lane. By land development standards, the lane is usually 20 feet wide and up to 800 feet in length. Again, the developer is asking for leniency, but they are compliant with our lane requirements by length and by width. The only note is that our fire marshal and building inspector requested that the lane needs to be at 26 feet wide at both fire hydrant locations by the entrances so that the fire trucks and EMS vehicles can turn around and back out if they need to. The development also proposes a 5-foot sidewalk along the northern side of the lane within the development. That would usually be required as part of the lane design. If the council proceeds with the approval of this conditional district, in your draft ordinance, there is a request from staff to also make a condition of approval easement on the northern side of Longview. I know we have asked for that as a part of the review subdivision. However, just to be sure, in case one project falls apart, we want to make sure we ask for this easement. So this is the area where the house is on the north, and that's where the sidewalk ends. We want it all the way down to the old golf cart path entrance. That's about where their subdivision will start. This will fill in happen, and there will have a sidewalk. It needs to be a public sidewalk. The approximate feet will be in 935 and 960. We might measure inside with our public services director. And the width of the easement needs to be 10 feet. So with this easement, the developer would be given us 0.22 acres for the construction site. They are not making the more size, but with a little bit of sidewalk. Because of the size of the development and the transportation impact analysis of right movements, the developer is asking for civic space credit for existing amenities, golf course. Otherwise, we require 5% civic space and the golf course. They can't use.
Your microphone just a little bit
Yes,
closer. Thank you.
yes,
Sorry.
okay.
Other way.
Other way, further?
Jesse's
It's
gonna fix it.
omnidirectional, so if you close, we move your head, it's gonna have audio. So in order to capture the tone of your voice, it doesn't feel like it's working.
But it-
Okay.
So that, yes,
Anybody can hear me? Okay.
yes. Thank you.
Okay. Would you like me to repeat something?
I
Okay.
can hear you because you're close, but I can tell it was,
Civic space, the developer is asking for leniency for civic space. They would be required to give 5% of civic space for development under 14 lots. The civic space can be golf course, a green space, conserved areas, so they're asking for credit for existing golf course amenities. Landscaping, the developer is asking for leniency to prepare alternative landscaping plan. The ordinance allows alternative landscape plans. Parking and driveways. Minimum space in between the driveways is 40 feet in low density district. The developer is asking for leniency in that category. None of the driveways will connect to the Longview Drive. They will connect to the internal lane. And the parking that is required is one spot per single family unit, which is compliant. As the part of the application requirements, the developer has provided an environmental survey, current conditions, grassy area, part of golf course. The property is not on the floodplain. There are no jurisdictional wetlands or streams on site. Soil classification was provided, a mix of well-drained soils. Proposed erosion measures, silt fences, sediment basins were provided as well. Because the project will disturb more than 1 acre, it will obtain erosion and sedimentation permit from the state. The plan shows basic post-construction stormwater conveyance system pipes. If the project is approved before the building permit, we would need a more detailed drainage plan, even though they would not fall under our stormwater ordinance requirement. Staff submit that this conditional district request reflects the goals of the 2035 comprehensive plan. Goal 1, continue to promote smart growth principles in land use planning and zoning, encourage infill, mixed use, and context-sensitive development. Goal 2, to create a range of housing opportunities and choices. That concludes staff report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Mr. Mayor, I've got a question.
Okay.
And all that I'm directed to you or Elizabeth. Looking through the notes, what was the objections why the planning board did not unanimously approve this?
Yes, ma'am. So on your, you have a planning board report attached now. If you don't mind, I will read them. That's
That
okay.
needs to go into public.
So the planning board voted 4-3 to not recommend the proposal. So that was closed vote. And the concerns are as follows. The applicant is requesting leniencies in all major categories of the zoning ordinance, including lot size, lot width, setbacks, sidewalks, civic space, landscape, and driveway spacing per planning board. Again, they're not non-compliant with some of them. Number 2, the predominant concerns were lot sizes, width, and setbacks being out of compliance with low density district requirements. Number 3, the board also expressed concerns about the lack of clear design guidelines for the houses to be constructed. Number 4, the board considers this type of development to be more of a cottage development that would need to comply with all development provisions of the cottage ordinance. The proposed development does not show reasonable compliance with our land development standards and does not provide any accommodation or benefit to the surrounding communities. That is a verbatim.
Right. And there's one follow-up here. So when you said that they're asking for leniency or consideration, can you bullet point those considerations?
Yes, ma'am.
Or leniencies or,
Yes,
if
ma'am.
you don't mind?
Yes.
So
So
it's
there,
probably what you just told me about what the planning board had. I mean,
there are 9 of them.
Okay.
1, minimum lot size standards shall not apply. Number 2, lot width standards shall not apply. Number 3, setback requirements shall not apply. Number 4, design guidelines shall not apply. Number 5, the standards for the proposed lane shall not apply. Number 6 is more of a request to make it wider by fire marshal. Number 7, civic space requirements shall not apply. Number 8, landscape requirements shall not apply and allow for custom landscape plan. And number 9, driveway standards of the LDF shall not apply.
Which ones of those are they compliant with that they would not have
Okay.
to?
So they're compliant with lot width, again, 60 feet, we measure at the front building line, not at the lot frontage. As they show the plan, sorry, they are compliant right there.
Right.
Number 4, design guidelines on lots wider than 50 feet, we would not require them. So right there. Number 5, lane. They're compliant as shown. And with this goes number 6. Yeah, that's one. And number 8, landscape. The ordinance does allow.
Did they give any indication of why it was not compliant with the 2035 plan, which allows for higher density?
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
Did the planning board give any indication of why it was not compliant with the 2035?
No, they did not. No.
Julia, do you have any other further questions, Chuck?
Our ordinance calls for the planning board to make a recommendation to us relevant to the compatibility with the surrounding property. And I've looked over these and I'm not sure what that recommendation was.
So the planning board does not, this is the report, they just don't recommend it, period.
Well, that's one of the requirements of our ordinance, that they make a recommendation to us relevant to the compatibility with the surrounding property. Not the one of the most important things that we're dealing with. So you're saying the planning board did not make a recommendation as to that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. They discussed it, and their finding was encapsulated in the bullet there that talks about the predominant concerns being that they're asking for sort of too many variances related to lot sizes, widths, and setbacks. And while this planning board report doesn't reflect the entirety of their discussion, realize this was a 3-hour hearing. And there was a lot of discussion about the zoning district requirements. We heard a lot from the neighbors about their lots. So you're right, Chuck, in that your report in front of you doesn't specifically ask that, but that bullet point was the vote that said this is out of compatibility with the zoning district requirements and thus the surrounding neighborhood.
Are you saying the recommendation is that the proposed subdivision is not compatible with the surrounding property?
I can't say that on behalf of the planning board, but what I can say is they voted to deny the application and recommended that the council deny the application by a vote of 4 to 3.
Kind of hard for me to make a decision based on if I don't get the recommendation that the ordinance requires us to have from the planning board. Yeah. I mean, I can extrapolate that maybe they're saying that it is not compatible with the surrounding property because of lot sizes and the setbacks. And this says lot widths, but
It meets the requirement of lot width
so I don't understand.
Well, so
in the
what-
lane.
I
So
would
there's,
ask that the applicant be able to present their application to you, but what Olga was saying is they're asking for some variances or leniency from the ordinance under their conditional district request, even though in the concept plan and in their submittals, they actually meet a lot of the requirements that they're asking variances or asking the council.
So exactly what kind of variances are they asking for with regard to lot width?
Well, they're not, variance is the wrong word, because there's not a specific variance that they're asking for. They're asking that the lot width minimum requirement and the lot size minimum requirement and the setback minimum requirements not apply to their application, that it's a conditional district rezoning. And so what they want to build is what's shown on their site plan. But also, and the applicant can speak more to this, they're trying to sell lots that other people will then build upon. And they can't be prescriptive on the architectural, actually what will get built there. What they're asking for is flexibility for those future owners to have in their design and setting of building on their lots.
Well, we can ask them how they want to vary the lot widths.
And so Chuck, and this may speak to what you were asking, Elizabeth. So this is a legislative zoning. So if you approved the applicant as presented, even though they've shown you materials which may comply with certain aspects, by passing a zoning ordinance which exempts them from them, what is actually built may not be consistent with the materials presented.
So there would be no requirements as to lot widths.
Correct. So even though we've been presented with lot widths that are compliant, the lots that are actually built upon may not comply. That's the point.
Thank you.
Mhm. So that's a critical legal distinction between the two different types of hearings we could have.
Chuck, you good?
I have some more questions, but go ahead.
I have one quick question as it relates to the setbacks. They are asking us to waive the setback requirement, and you indicated building and fire codes would suffice in that. What is the difference? What do the fire and building codes provide as far as setbacks?
I am not sure. The building code will still apply, as I mentioned. They ask the setback requirements from the zoning district. We just can't ever waive fire or building code. So
Sure.
I'm not sure. I don't have an answer.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so we need to,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Chuck, do you have more questions?
Yeah, I have another. I'm curious about the civic space requirement.
Mhm.
If we waive that, so the developer is providing civic space with the golf course.
Appears to be, yes.
Here's, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
What he's asking for, what the applicant's
Just to
asking for
waive
is to count the golf course as their required civic.
So my question is, what happens in the future if the golf course is no longer a golf?
That would be a question for a developer, yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's also a legal question for us too. That there's no, what I'm saying is there a guarantee of future civic space?
Not sure.
No.
No, okay.
Not as presented.
I did read something about the lot owners being required to become members of the club, and that would give them access to the civic space. So,
The developer has,
so it sounds to me like they're being required to pay for use of civic space that our ordinance requires.
We do not disagree.
Yeah.
And I think the applicant is here and.
All right. And the other thing I'm concerned about is the parking. So we only require one parking space
for a single home.
for a single family home.
Yep. Is there?
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other question I had, has the planning department given any consideration to soil contamination, which has been raised, an issue which has been raised by some of the residents?
This concern has been raised during the public comment at the hearing, but the planning board didn't specifically have a discussion on that.
They did provide some environmental documentation that did not mention that as part of their application. My assumption would be that if you're concerned about that, my suggestion would be that if that is a real concern, then a condition of any approval could require some testing on that site and impacts to adjacent properties, if necessary. But again, I think that there is an extensive amount of environmental work that they've already completed, and they can speak to that, to whether that they feel like that's a real or valid issue.
And one final question, I'm sorry, and I think I'll be done.
These are
The,
good questions.
Our ordinance talks about an environmental survey and the things that it includes. It talks about the environmental survey identifying the existing trees, and I'm not seeing anything in front of me that shows any identification of existing
There
trees.
really aren't there. This is the location of an old cart path.
I'm sorry, I was on that site and I saw a huge oak tree that was
Oh, the one,
beautiful. So I can ask the developer about that, but we don't have any information as to that in an environmental survey.
No, no.
Okay, thank you.
You good, Chuck?
Yes.
Okay, John, you have any
One
further
last
questions?
question about the sidewalk.
Uh-huh.
So we are talking about, and we have gotten received an agreement as part of the Grandview approval to, there you go, to build that sidewalk there. And I gather that we are going to connect that with the sidewalk that would be inside the lane. And who is responsible for maintaining that sidewalk after?
Well, with the easement given to town, it will be a public sidewalk.
Okay,
We will be.
I kind of figured.
Mhm.
Okay, so we would maintain the sidewalk all the way up Nineveh and Longview into the development and,
But, yeah.
okay,
and for clarification, John, this is the staff recommendation for a condition of the approval. One of the concerns that was voiced in the planning board report to you is that under conditional district rezonings, usually there is some horse trading, if you would. Like they'll grant you some flexibility in application of one ordinance for this site plan for some public benefit. And the planning board felt like they weren't seeing the public benefit of allowing variances to the ordinance in this particular case. But one public benefit that came up, one public need that comes up continuously is pedestrian safety in Longview. It came up in your Greenview application. And remember that was a conditional approval where you suggested that you could let the developer pay a fee in lieu in order to help us build sidewalk on Longview. But we can't build that sidewalk unless we ask for and get a easement along Longview from the golf course for the construction of that sidewalk. The public right of way goes right up to the curb, but not beyond it. So to construct any type of sidewalk up Longview, you need at least a 10-foot easement from the curb landward to be able to build a sidewalk. And that was town staff.
and it's a condition of the Grandview approval.
It was a condition if the easement, if we're not able to get an easement from the golf course to construct a sidewalk, we can't construct a sidewalk on private property. We would have to go back and require the internal sidewalk that was shown in the Greenview subdivision.
The condition of approval of Greenview was the easement as well. We are asking again for it more specifically, like Elizabeth said, with square footage and whatnot. In case one project doesn't happen, we still have it.
I'm totally good with that. What I'm not good with is any uncertainty as it relates to that sidewalk, because that's one of the key reasons I voted in favor of the Grandview development, is they were going to pay in lieu of, and we would use that to build that sidewalk.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
and so I'm just befuddled that there's any uncertainty about that.
Well, the length and the pay in lieu of that sidewalk won't build the entire.
Okay,
So we got an easement for the first part along Longview, the sidewalk, and
Actually-
payment for that.
We don't have a platted easement from them yet.
But they, as a condition of our approval, they agreed they would give that to us. Okay. But it just
Yes,
goes
yes.
partly along Longview. It doesn't get to this, quite get to this development.
So if we approve this, we would request that they get the remainder easement plus easement
All right,
through the
thank you.
development.
So Greenview Lane that they proposed with turnaround, it is shorter than 960 feet. So we would use the money they paid for what it would be for that length and construct, and the rest we would have to budget.
Don't you have any further
No,
questions?
sir.
Anthony?
They answer, they ask all nine of the staff, so I'm waiting
Okay.
for the,
All right, thank you all, and I will ask for the applicant to please give us his presentation.
Patrick, before you get started,
Yes, ma'am.
just for you and if any of the other members of your team wish to speak, your timer is gonna be the yellow one up here in the top left-hand corner. This orange one that's counting out is the whole public hearing hour, okay?
Thank you very much.
Or, oh, sorry, and move to the top right-hand corner, but it's still yellow.
And can I can you pause just a moment? I just
Sure.
want a quick point of clarification and apologize, my voice is waning on me late in the day. But for Mr. Cogburn and the folks he represents, Mayor, Council, Attorney, if appropriate, could he provide those names so that we don't hear from him? I have no problem with extending that time. Obviously, y'all have acted on that, and we have no problem with that at all. But I feel like in full transparency, we should know who those folks are so that they wouldn't come to the mic and choose to speak, because at this point, we don't know who those folks are. That makes sense.
I'm happy to do that. Provide this year. That can help.
do we necessarily need the
You
addresses,
don't necessarily
please?
need the proximity or address, just the
I can
names.
provide that.
That would be helpful.
No,
If you
don't,
can
and-
provide that to the clerk at your convenience before you speak, that would be helpful.
And I don't anticipate any double dipping, but like I say, as we're all living second by second, I want to be equitable to all parties. Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor, Town Council, Patrick Bradshaw, Civil Design Concepts. Not only in my design capacity, we represent Waynesville Golf Club and the Rains Company with regard to this project, but I too am a neighbor to this project. I live at the back end of the Farmer Farm, if you will, which has since changed hands, but I drive these roads every day, know them as well as any person in the room, for sure. And just to backtrack a bit, because I heard a number of commentary with the staff, I want to hit on just a few things. Civic space, we have asked for the golf course to stand in the shoes of that civic space and not have another specific requirement. I think Councilman Dixon raises a valid point. What if the golf course were to cease to exist? We are glad to set aside adjacent property in a plat that could be serviced by these properties to serve as that civic space, if that were so to made a condition, if this board saw as proper to grant an approval with that as a condition. I think that rough math is less than a quarter of an acre. I don't know it right offhand. I promised I'd not do a lot of math. But, as we talk about architectural guidelines, I have with me tonight Emily Clark from Clark Landing Architecture. I'm going to try to be mindful and leave her some space because I can get long-winded. But while the town does not have specific requirements with regard to color, a number of materials, and others for single-family homes, Waynesville Golf Club is very concerned about those things. You've seen and had outlined in your packages a very stringent review process that will hit on that. And then compatibility with the neighborhood. So I think this is number one that we should understand. Chuck, not different than Elizabeth alluded to. I don't believe that our planning board took a specific action on that, but I would concede that I think the vote probably would have gone the same way. 4 of them felt that it was likely non-compatible, and 3 would have felt that it was compatible. That seemed to be just the context of that long public hearing that night. With regard to the 2035 plan, I think we've heard clearly that it is supported. This type of development is supported in the 2035. And then lastly, before I jump to script here, is the lot width. So we have a couple of flag lots that are more narrow than 60 feet at a point. And with the dynamics of different architectures, creativities, and otherwise, if some portion, the houses that are shown on the site plan as portrayed, the lots are very real, and we will 100% live into that site plan and those lots. So to the town attorney's point, you know, the way we view conditional zonings and conditional districts is we are married to that site plan, and we have no inhibition, not different than at Greenview, than at Longview, to live into that site plan as those lots are proposed 100%. You're not going to see 30-foot wide lots out of us or any of those things, and if that was appropriate to be made as a condition, we would welcome that as well. That site plan is fair game, and we do not back away from it for one moment. The landscape, the reason we have asked for alternative compliance in landscape, in subdivisions of single-family variety and single-family development, the only landscape requirement is street trees. That's it. No buffering when you join another residential community or certainly a golf course. You don't have to buffer, so all it would be is street trees. We have heard loud and clear that a lot of folks upslope of us don't want to lose their view, so we don't think to present a compliant landscape plan is the most appropriate to our neighbors. So we'd like to do alternative compliance, keep heights of plantings low, and submit that at a certain time, you know, that can be, but we certainly wouldn't back away from just planting large maturing trees on 40-foot spacings as are required, but we don't think that's conducive to what we've heard from a number of our neighbors. So with that said, I'm going to forego, because I think I told you about it at Greenview, the number of renovations that have been made. I think you've seen a lot of those in living color across the golf course, the cottages, and otherwise. I do have, in addition to Emily Gray Rains, managing partner from Rains Development, with us this evening. So as appropriate, I'm sure he would be glad to share any thoughts with you. So to just hit quickly, we did in fact hold 2 neighborhood meetings, one on February 19th and another one on March 14th, both at Waynesville Golf Club. We sent over 120 invitations, and we had about a total of 50 people in attendance across both of those, while arguably a lot of those were the same people both times, but that was about the total attendance. Again, appreciation and kudos to Elizabeth and Olga and town staff for their takeover and presentation to you. They cover a lot of ground that saves us a bit of time. Emily will hit on architecture. And so one thing that I want you to hear is, for sure, when we talk about the context of the neighborhood, there are exactly 13 existing lots that address off of Longview Drive. 13 that address off of Longview proper. Those lot sizes range from 0.5 acres to 0.1 acres, with 8 of them being less than 0.33 acres. So as we talk about lot sizes, what's right for the district, you may hear about existing widths that are 100 feet, but they may even be on lots that don't meet the half acre. So as we talk about the reality of the neighborhood, I think it's important to keep that in context. The other important point is to recognize that Waynesville Golf Club appreciates to be a part of this neighborhood and sees single family development as the most logical and compatible with the existing neighborhood. We've got a plan that we shared at one of the neighborhood meetings as we talk about density that could accommodate up to and including 30 townhomes. We don't think that's the most appropriate development there. But we could go to that place without having to come to this place. We simply need a major site plan approval, identify a 5-acre tract, develop it 6 units an acre. We're not even a special use permit. But that's viable
Waynesville Inn Golf Club doesn't think that's the most appropriate, nor do I, nor does Emily Clark, who's a licensed architect. We feel like single-family homes in a number of 12 is much more compatible than 30 townhomes. Just to wrap up, and I'm getting super close. We've talked about water and sewer. We've talked about traffic. Hit landscape. And again, it's a mesh to try to pull these things from Greenview, the fee in lieu of, and the right of way. And Councilman Dixon, we don't back away, and Councilman Piker, for that commitment of that right of way, not one iota. So that's fortified in the last presentation of Greenview. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Emily Clark because she has a lot more interesting things to show and share. So thank you for your time, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Good evening, Mayor Caldwell, council members, Emily Clark, Clark Landing Architects. I'm going to condense this as fast as I can and follow the packet or the pamphlet that you got, bullet points that you got previously. John, to speak to your setbacks, the North Carolina State Building Code requires a 5-foot setback from property line. So you had 1 on 5, and there'll be minimum of 10 feet apart would be. Don't see that any of these lots that would be an issue. I mean, I see greater than that, but that is the North Carolina State Building Code is 5. And then height restriction. Again, 35-foot max exceeds or far less than the town's ordinance of 60, and is conducive pretty much with. I've looked at many other developments in the region, and 35 is in that range. So nothing. Square foot maximum on Longview. 3,200 square feet. Again, we feel that's just appropriate for the lot size. We don't expect overbuilding on these lots. That's not what we're looking for. And then to speak 15 seconds to architectural guidelines.
Oh, before you run out of time, does the board wish to extend the applicant period for speaking?
Sure.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. So we do, and a lot of this is the same as Greenview. These are the same architectural guidelines that will guide both Link Greenview and the Longview development. There will be certain restrictions that are only applicable, like the square footage of 3,200 square feet is for Longview. Greenview, larger lots, they do have a larger maximum square footage. Height restriction is the same on both. So to that, we are not specifying or dictating any particular architectural style, but providing owners and their design teams with a set of guidelines that foster creativity and are sensitive to the existing neighborhood. These guidelines include but are not limited to style, size, height, materials, colors. Again, we would reference the cottages that have been built as a level of finishes that's what we expect and would approve. And that is just as far as architectural style, we are not saying that there's one. I think there are plenty. There are styles that are considered preferable: craftsman, bungalow, ranch style, cottage, farmhouse. That's something that we see all over the country club and Waynesville and Western North Carolina. So those are just the high points there. Materials, we prefer natural materials. There are composite materials that are applicable. And then colors, we prefer earth tones, colors that are indicative of local architecture. I think I said this at Greenview, like a farmhouse style is typically we see white. And so while that's not an earth tone, we do feel that's appropriate for the community. And we have a review process, 4 steps, which you can read about in your packets. Any questions to
Anyone have any questions
architectural
for
I'm curious about parking. Are there any requirements or restrictions?
All parking is required, by the homeowner has anything they have has to be parked on their lot, on their facility.
So the lane does not leave room to park.
No, everything should be on there, unless everything would be on their lot and garage. if they have them.
Quickly, so you said these are recommendations. What is your recourse for somebody that wants to put a French chateau on one of these lots versus all the new post and beam and all this kind of architecture? What control have you got?
The architectural review committee it's deed restricted, and they have, yes.
Good deal.
Well, I have a question, speaking of deed restrictions, so I did not see that your restrictive covenants for this particular development were recorded. Is that correct?
Have not.
Okay. Is there a reason why you didn't submit the draft with the materials to give the board more information about what kind of requirements you met? I mean, I know you wrote the summary, but that's not the same as the restrictive covenants.
That's the primary reason we did do the summary. Right now, that document lives at about 30 pages. And it expands on what we felt like would be the highlights, if you will, of that. There are other things where we talk about sediment fences, mud in the road, a fine inventory for if you don't do these things, this is your fine, a bond that a contractor will pay. We quite candidly didn't feel like that was of interest to you. Moreover, we certainly won't record until such time as we know we have an approved project. So, we want to be, again, not to be disingenuous, but, so we tried to give you what we're absolutely 100% committed to. And Councilman Dixon, to your question, so each driveway will accommodate a minimum of 2. We anticipate that many of these homes will have a garage incorporated with them as well. With the likelihood, but not certainty, that they could be seasonal homes, oftentimes those garages don't become storage as they do in full-time year-round use homes, and could be used as, off-street parking as well. Do I discount the fact that if someone has a dinner party and invites, 15 guests, maybe we see a car in the street, not different than Hendricks Park, Allen Park, or otherwise. I think that's a possibility, but I don't nearly think it will be the norm.
And also the developer has utilized, the club's parking lot can also be utilized if needed in the event of a larger function. That was brought up, I believe, in meeting or screen one of the public hearings.
Yeah, that's the tie across with the civic spaces. If you are a lot owner here, you so too shall be required to be a member of one. It travels with deed restriction, membership, those requirements. So, like I say, only to Councilman Dixon's point, in the unlikely event that the golf course cease to exist, with that civic space not yet provided.
You addressed an issue which you touched on, but I'm not sure that you really addressed it. How is this development where the lot sizes are smaller than all the neighboring properties, almost all, and where the houses are closer together than all the other houses in the neighborhood? How is that compatible with the surrounding properties in the neighborhood?
I think when we take a zoomed in look at a preponderance of Longview, particularly from the proximity of the intersection of Willow Road on out to, and I'm going to name some folks that I don't think are here, but you may know them. Ray Ezel, Shirley McMahon, used to be Glenn Patterson's home, but I don't think they buy that anymore. Coming on out to the corner at Willow, I think it's Miss McAdam. I hope I have her name, that lives there. In that stretch, I think that those proximity of those houses are very reminiscent of what we will see here. Like I say, land is land. We can't, pull it, and this is not to be cutesy, but we can't pull it out of thin air. Those acreages are real. They're averaging over 13 lots that address at Longview at 0.33 acres. Over 13 houses. What we're talking about here, not a terribly dissimilar effort. That could be, and again, we've tried to be genuine council in the idea that land is not our largest issue. What we're trying to do is not cause a problem with extending lots onto the golf course to turn back around and give the golf course an easement across those same lots. We could solve the 0.5 acre issue, and at that point, this thing looks exactly like Greenview. It simply is in a way that those lots would have an easement across them for the golf hole. So we've tried to just be very genuine in that fact, make sure that there was a good buildable space. So that's how we arrived at that. It's not that we mind to give up half an acre. We just think it's unnecessary because we're going to turn around the final plat and take it right back away with an easement for golf. So it's not a buildable area. So that's the ideology there. It's not to be obstinate to, we just want to do small lots.
The houses would still be closer together and much more dense than the rest of the surrounding property.
But that
It depends on style, depends on what the homeowner chooses, their style.
And at that point,
I
Size.
would think that a homeowner paying $200,000 for a lot was going to build a small house. And certainly, I suppose somebody could, but I seriously doubt it.
At that point, I would simply offer that, 60 feet is not a number we develop, and staff has said we meet it. We don't want to get hung up on a technicality, so we're asking only because we have those flag lots. That's the reason we asked for.
I was told that.
So, so that's, what we'll set, the larger proximity to those homes.
How much of a variation might be on 60 foot lot width?
I don't think,
Up to and including maybe zero. We can't forecast every single house and specific, I'm imagining on one of those flag lots, if they wanted to run a little dog trot out to a covered parking space, I don't want to get hung up on that being the front of the house or an appropriate architectural style, just because they've entered into a section of a lot that's less than 60 feet long. So that's all in the world that ask is about.
Patrick, you just mentioned 13. I was thinking 12.
I was talking Grandview.
Okay.
Yeah, my apologies.
No worries.
They have a number similar.
Choke it up for you. Yes. Don, yeah.
Julia, do you have anything?
No, sir.
I have a couple. Will there be, are you open to having larger lots?
We're here for a discussion, certainly.
With the sidewalks, does the plan have sidewalks going through the development?
This plan does have a sidewalk proposed through it, and we think will be by the parallel the road that we are proposing to construct. We think that is a safer location, given the topography going on up to existing Longview, that is a safer location, and that will be a public and open route. So for folks coming from the Willow Road direction and the Greens and that end, they can get on sidewalk there and then transpose right to Figure.
I'm having a hard time, and I'm a little perplexed why you didn't come with 0.33 acres from the beginning, if you were willing to have them. Second was the leniency on the setbacks. That's two hangups that I have.
So one thought is, and this is the way, again, and we can certainly talk about this, is again, this is all around design ideology, because you see so many different architectural styles, building footprints, lots, the way they're compromised or comprised out there, not compromised, is if, let's say that you built your house first, and for instance, you're 12 feet off the property line. Well, then I could easily come and build within 2 feet off the property line, and the ARB may go and say, hey, you need to go talk to Mr. Sutton. If he doesn't have a planned expansion, we don't mind if you build within 2 feet.
I think it's 10 feet. But
it is 10 as a setback. That's why we're asking for that relief. That's the kind of creativity that you can get into when you have an ARB under control. So that on small lots, you don't want to arbitrarily lose 10 feet when one particular homeowner may not even want to use their community, or have a need, or otherwise, and so that can be advantageous to an adjoining property owner all through an ARB.
Anything further? Okay.
Thank you all so much.
Oh, thank you all. So the question's good. We'll open it up to the vote.
Yes, and before the board moves into the public comment portion, I'll let you know, we have 4.5 minutes remaining in the 1 hour allotted to our standard public hearing time. Does the board wish to extend that period?
I wish to extend that. I'll make a motion to extend that by another hour.
Okay, got a motion to extend that by another hour. We'll have a second.
Right.
Second, Chuck, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, show like the same. Extension is approved.
Mr. Cockburn, I believe we have the names of those folks on whose behalf you are speaking in lieu of their presence, so we'll make sure that those don't overlap with anyone who calls. Another comment? Yeah, I have a list on my computer.
Also, Ms. Bradley, I'm happy to, before my time starts, just read those in the record if that would be
Sure.
helpful.
If
Okay.
you're willing to, that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But no, we have a
Correct.
rule
Yes,
about
I will
addresses,
just
please.
list off my
Names
clients' names.
is sufficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? And so, yeah, just to clarify, and I completely understand Mr. Bradshaw's request, and certainly want everything to go forward and to be clear for council. I represent a large group of property owners, most of which that live directly across on Longview in that general area. But I represent Michael Lee, Barbara Martin, Harry and Molly Gamble, Ben Franklin IV. All of those individuals are not present. I represent Harry McCracken, who is here and has requested to speak. I represent Troy and Victoria Whalen. Troy is here, has requested to speak, although he may elect not to speak. I represent Catherine Topol, who is here and will speak. I represent Trevor and Holly Markham, who are not here. And I represent Jerry Gilbert, who is here and has requested to speak. So a majority of my clients, which total, I believe it's 12 individuals, are not
Are
here.
you counting married couples as two? Because I have 9.
I just counted total individuals.
Okay, so I have 9, just the property owners, I should say. So you have 5 that are not here. 5.
Correct.
I'm sorry. Could you the first name you listed?
Michael Lee.
All right. Your timer, Mr. Cockburn, is going to be in the upper right hand. We'll see where it ends up, but it's pink.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Again, my name is Clint Cogburn. I'm a land use attorney with the law firm Ward and Smith. I'm here on behalf of the property owners I just listed for you. And I'll go into detail in a couple of categories. The first of which will be kind of legal or based on the ordinance. The second of which will be policy based or based on the comprehensive plan. And the third, which will be procedural. Before I get to those buckets, I do want to highlight a couple of things from the applicants and staff's presentation. I think during both of those presentations, you heard the words may, might, we hope, summary, guidelines, forecast, all of which are non-binding if this is passed. Even though the applicant may have the best intentions, even though the applicant may intend to do something, unless it is included as an express condition, a part of any approval, which there are very few conditions proposed as part of this, a lot of conditions proposed, they are seeking waivers and complete exemptions from what I would call the totality of the design standards that they would otherwise be subject to. Those are not binding. They can elect to do certain things, they can elect to do other things, and they've admitted to that as part of their presentation. It also isn't set in stone that this developer or this applicant will actually develop something. This will run with the land. And if they sell to somebody else, all of these good intentions, as good as they may be, will not follow with that to that other owner. And so I think that is important, that what this council considers is what the town can hold the developer to, rather than, promises or wishes or hopes or summaries or generalities. We need to work in specificity and clarity, because this will impact people's property, both those who live at that site, but also those who have property in the community. Now to get to the first bucket, which will address kind of the ordinance and the extensive nature of these concessions that they are asking for. To start, I represent a number of developers throughout the state in these exact proceedings. I oftentimes recommend conditional rezonings to them as a good way to address community concerns and to go about with proper development. But it is typical, if not predominant throughout the state, in conditional zoning, that conditional zonings, those conditions seek to impose higher restrictions or higher standards on the developer in order to gain approval. It is a carrot to the community. That is what I often advise my clients. Here, it is atypical. It is contrary to that practice in seeking extensive concessions and extensive waivers of very basic design standards, construction standards that they would otherwise be subject to. If we look at that, if we go through that list, and staff has done that, but this would allow for a dramatically reduced lot size. As staff indicated, the required lot size for the base zoning district is 1/2 acre. Applicant is proposing lot sizes ranging from 0.13 acre to 0.27 acre. When you look closer at the breakdown they have provided, you have one lot that's planned for 0.27 acres, one lot planned for 0.26 acres, one lot planned for 0.25 acres, and one lot planned for 0.24 acres, and a number of lots, 6, half of what is being asked for here, that are below 0.2 acres. Only 3 of the 12 total lots are even within 1/2 of an acre of what is otherwise required in the base zone. Compare that with my client's properties. You have 0.481 acres, 0.49 acres, 0.64 acres, 0.57 acres, and other lots within that general community in between 0.4 acres and over 1 acre. You have the impact to the surrounding property owners. I'll defer to my clients. You'll hear from them as to those impacts, but this will certainly impact their view shed. You have potential impact to property values as a result of this development and the unknown in this development and what may happen. You have additional traffic considerations, and they'll go into detail on that. You have a request to vary lot width. Again, that they can change what they are saying they are going to do. The site plan that they have cited is a conceptual plan. It does not have any of the standard markers of a full-fledged site plan in terms of dimensions and specificity. And so that is a conceptual plan that they may in fact vary. And so in approving this, you'd provide them with an extraordinary concession related to the lot width that other properties that may come before you would not be subject. You also have a departure from the required civic and open space. The applicant seeks to waive those Chapter 7 requirements. However, if you look closer at the ordinance, and they seek to waive that specifically because of proximity to the law. But if you look closer, specifically at Section 7.31, credit for proximity to existing open space is for those that are publicly accessible. I would contend to you that a private golf course that's private membership is not publicly accessible. It also only allows for a 50% credit as part of that. They're asking for 100% credit, not provide any additional open space. They mentioned that they may have an adjacent property that they would be willing to consider, but that request isn't before this council tonight. They're seeking use and screening flexibility. They're seeking flexibility related to the landscaping. They say they want that to provide a better landscape plan, but we have no idea what that plan looks like. They have the opportunity to put that in place, to provide this to the council, to provide it as a condition of the approval, but instead what they're saying is, trust us, prove it, and we'll do a good job. I think that this town and this community requires more, specifically where the applicant is requesting these considerable waivers, these considerable leniencies, these exceptions. They did not do that. They're also asking for a waiver of building design guidelines. They provide you a summary of what they intend to do, what they might do. But as some of the dialogue that occurred in questioning of the applicant, they've admitted they actually haven't fully adopted any guidelines. They haven't put in place any deed restrictions. Those are not incorporated as part of their request. Again, I would submit to you that a proper application seeking this amount of leniency from the ordinance should provide that to you and be a condition of any approval. They should have included as part of this request set guidelines that they have adopted that would be reported. They've not done that. Again, they're saying, trust us. We may do this. We're planning to do this. This is our plan. And more specificity is needed in the face of considerable concessions that they are seeking. I want to talk for a moment about the comprehensive plan. We have staff has mentioned that there were two of the goals that were met as part of the comprehensive plan. But if you look at those goals, those are goal 1, which promotes smart growth principles and land use planning and zoning. However, this is primarily focused on infill development. This point specifically speaks to a conservation design and preservation of natural resources. I would contend that this request actually goes directly against that. It is not a conservation design. It is not preserving these natural resources. It would not be a benefit to the surrounding community. It also is inconsistent with that surrounding community. We've heard a lot of statements about that. And the reason that they're seeking those waivers is to be inconsistent. If they were being consistent with the community and can meet those standards, they would do so. They are not doing that as part of this request tonight. The second goal is to create a range of housing opportunities and choices. But if you actually look at the plain language, that point mentions to promote a diverse housing stock, including market rate, workforce housing, and affordable options. I think we can all agree that golf course frontage housing is not meeting that affordable housing policy goal. So I would contend that those goals are not met. The comprehensive plan is not satisfied. It is not consistent with the goals of the comprehensive plan. Finally, I want to speak to some of the process here. First, I do want to note again that the planning board, which is appointed, specifically tasked with reviewing these types of requests before it comes before council, did recommend denial by a 4-3 vote based on all the points that I've made in my presentation. I would also submit to council that as part of those 2 community meetings that Mr. Bradshaw mentioned, we heard a lot of the same generalities for tonight. We're planning to do this. We may do that. We're hoping that we can do this. But again, we need specificity. There needs to be certainty about what the impact will be. We've also submitted to them a proposed list of conditions months ago, and they rejected or refused to really engage substantively with those proposed conditions. I also think that it is a little disconcerting that as part of their pitch to you that they would show what they may do if you don't approve this. I don't think that that is appropriate. I don't think that that is respectful of this council, frankly. I don't think that should be a basis for approval. I think we have to consider this on its merits, and it does not meet the comprehensive plan or the ordinance requirements, and it should be.
Mr. Cockburn, do you have a copy of those proposed conditions available that you could submit for the record? Mr. Mayor, may we take a brief recess so it's not
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess here, and then we'll start back with the other folks on the public comment.
It was Julia, I was gonna get up. Very back from the paper house. I was like, pretty sure it was Julia back. I guess the whole morning. Are you serious? And you didn't have them today? And they've been sitting there the whole time. A little concerning that hasn't been wiped down.
I'll be fixed with a hammer.
Do what?
If I see him in the chair, hopefully.
You can.
That might-
Okay, sit and wait. No, that's. I feel like you need to hear that.
That's not there.
Just put a note card. Get your hammer. Get your hammer.
The one thing is that slave deal, you know, he's right. That's not special for the it's a problem. You get out, they show every building. Anything they sell, everything else.
Because I know the history of that. Is in years they have that could happen. It's happened what? Twice, 3 times in the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's that one of the development, the low income development. We learn it damn thing, so well, still go with low income. Yeah. That's a still, if they do something, I mean, it's real estate. I mean,
Jesse is
okay.
Jesse said,
Last time.
Letting the board know about.
It's like the board has been in session since 4 o'clock. They really good land.
Yeah. This is correct.
You're not required to vote.
You're not.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
We will go back into session and, we have probably like 15 applicants, correct? And if we feel like it's something here that's going to be, it's already been repeated by the attorney or whoever's there, your option, you don't have to speak if you don't want to, but your option is you can speak. So I just want you to know that that's out there. And so
You can also approach the microphone and say, I agree with all of the objections that were raised by the preceding 5 people. My name is.
Yeah.
And just so that you are on the record as having agreed with those folks who went before you.
yeah, we want to give you, everybody, even there, if you're in favor or you're opposed, we want to give you that option.
But
Okay,
at 15 people at 3 minutes each is 45 minutes and it's already almost 8. So if you'll be
so we're going to
considerate of that.
we're going to get started, and we shuffle them up instead of doing the folks that are opposed or folks that are for. We just shuffle them up so it would help go faster. Okay, if you want to call out the first person.
John Cox.
And all you have to do, sir, is just say your name to the clerk over here, and the town attorney will keep a 3-minute time.
Okay. My name's John Cox. I live on Greenview Drive. I'm a full-time resident here. My house is located in between the 2 projects, Greenview and Longview. So when I take a right or a left, something will be happening there. So seems like always in projects like this, there's good and bad. I think in this case, in my opinion, the good outweighs the bad by a lot. Rains Group came and purchased this land. They've saved it. They have made an unbelievable golf course. The inn is fantastic. It's a Hilton property. They are bringing lots and lots of visitors into town. Probably there was a Porsche event. I don't know. I saw 12 of them downtown eating. So nothing but goodness on that side. The idea that they could have built 30 condos with 2 cars, what's that, 60, say 40 condos on the other. So we're looking at, 130 cars versus 50 in this case. I think that's a reasonable thing to ask. The club is a big asset. They're a wonderful neighbor. The merchants downtown are happy. I'm in the credit card world, so I'm happy as well. I think it'd be great for local builders and the lights to get all of this to build all these wonderful homes here. The tax revenue, I have no idea what it is, but I'm certain that is a good thing as well. Am I looking forward to the trucks and the construction? And no, I'm not. But I don't own the land, and I can't tell them what to do. That's up to you guys. I would suggest that the house in front of me was built on a 1/4 acre lot. And I wish the club had that property because it is a monster 3-story, 60-foot house that has blocked my view. I didn't own the land. I don't have anything to do about it. So they get to build what they get to build. I support this group. They have been nothing but wonderful to the neighborhood, to our wonderful little mountain town. And the house that was built in front of me did not enhance our neighborhood, but I would suggest that these will. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next person.
Steve Brown?
Do I need to introduce myself?
I don't
No, I
think
don't
so.
think so.
You know,
Say your name's
I know about 3 minutes is going to start, but I just want to let the board know and the mayor know that I'm not here asking for anybody. Okay, so I'm done, I'm retired, I'm not doing that anymore, so we're not going to ask for money. I actually wasn't even going to come tonight and knew about what was going on with this proposal, but I've been involved with the Waynesville Country Club probably and lived in that area probably longer than maybe 1 or 2 people in this room. I was born on Longview. I lived on Jackson Drive. I moved to Oakdale and I still live on Oakdale. And I've been there a total of 66 years out of the 70 years I've been on this earth. And the Waynesville Country Club has been an integral part of this community. You realize it's in the city limits. I mean, y'all know that. How many golf courses that are private are in the city limits of the town? Probably not many. And for them to be willing to do the things necessary to be a part of this community, I've been through a lot of really good times with the Waynesville Country Club and a lot of really bad times. As you all know, that when Sammy Carver owned the property, he did everything in his power to try to maintain the golf course, but it was touch and go. And had they not, the Rains had not stepped up to purchase the property, I could very well see a development being built very similar to what's going on Francis Cove right now, or excuse me, the test farm is being built right there, and there'll be 500 homes on 30 acres of land. So we're really lucky to have the Waynesville Country Club where it is. I don't know all the particulars of the lawyers and the different people that are involved in what's going on, but we need to be supportive of the Rains Group. They've hired local people to do the work. They hired local people. My brother-in-law did a majority of the grading and landscaping. They have a local architect and a local engineer. We need to make sure that we keep supporting them and doing the things necessary to support them in this community. And I'm not into all of the particulars about the homes, but we need to allow them to build homes on the property. We've already approved one space, I understand, which is closer to where I live. And now they're asking for another. To me, it seems obvious if you all could sit down and work it out. There should be an easy way to resolve this and allow them to build the homes that they need and protect the people that live above them where they can still have their view. Most of them are going to lose their view of hole number 10, I suspect, but I don't think it's going to affect their overall view if they keep the buildings down to a certain height. So I just wanted to come and say my piece that I've supported the Waynesville Country Club. I support the town of Waynesville, and I hope you all will sit down and take the time and approve something that is amicable for all the people in this room. Thank you.
Mayor Brown, I say hello.
Okay.
Next is Laura Henry.
Good evening. I'll keep it short. I am supportive of opposing all of the amendments that have been presented this evening on particularly the minimum lot size, the minimum lot width, setback requirements. I live at 305 Longview. My husband and I do. We've been there almost a year. We were planning to live there part-time and fell in love with the area so much and the view that we changed our minds and came here full-time starting in December. So it's kind of bittersweet what's going on. He's going to go into more detail, so I'll leave it at that. I just wanted to say something struck me last week. Is we are concerned that there are going to be many of these units will turn into short-term rentals. Obviously, they fit the mold for that pretty well and have parking and density and turnover. We are very concerned about that. It encourages investment buyers, and we've seen that in our neighborhood. As a matter of fact, the house that was mentioned that is not very attractive is a short-term rental now, and it is 60 feet, and I just heard it houses, or it will accommodate like 12 or 14 guests. So we're very nervous about that. We are across from lot 12. It will impact a portion of our view. It makes us nervous, obviously, for obvious. So I'm just going to close with one thing. Last week I read about, we're still getting to know the area. I read about the revocation of the noise ordinance, and Mr. Sutton had a wonderful quote that I'd like to just close with. And he said, it's crucial to acknowledge that fairness and equity must prevail in our decision making. And I appreciate that. I appreciate where he's coming from that, and I hope that you all will keep that in mind as you make your decisions.
Thank you, ma'am.
Jerry Gilbert.
I'm gonna waive my time to speak. And said everything that I would have said. Do have petitions you could sign. Submit. We've been resident, my wife and I, long years, including about 7 years. We love Waynesville. And needless to say, we hate it. I don't mind telling you, I think the building in Waynesville, and I'm a developer in Florida, so I like building. But needless to say, I think that infrastructure is just not there. I said I was going to wait my time, but I truly feel the infrastructure. And I'm concerned about traffic. All of you bring you approaches right over the corner. Anyway, I'll wait the rest of my evening.
Just give it to the clerk of our, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
William Whalen.
Harry McCracken.
Evening, Mayor, Council, Harry McCracken. Home 251 Almond Drive. That's the home I grew up in. Family's owned it for over 60 years. And, my main concern is losing my view at the lowest point on the proposed house in front of me. Only 10 feet below my elevation. I'm going to be looking right at it. And I'm very concerned about that because we have a beautiful long range view golf course in Boston Mountain Range. And it's going to kill me if I lose that view. And, I'm also concerned about the parking. I'm share the concerns that some of the folks have mentioned about these becoming short-term rentals. 4 guys come in from all over the state in 4 cars, and it's just the way it is with golfers. I've been one, so that's a big concern of mine. And the site plan is not an engineering document. I don't know what the elevation of that roadway is really going to be, which is going to define where the house starts, and it could be even worse. But the one right in front of me is only 10 feet below, but the golf course slopes up to the right and left. And those houses are going to be more obstructive of my view. So it's a kind of a disaster for me, really. It's going to affect my property value, negative, no question. I'm also concerned about the traffic on Longview and the 2 tie-ins. The tie-in on my end of the street is going to be right in front of my neighbor, the Whalen's house. Right in front of their house. It's on a blind hill behind a blind curve. People fly over that hill, and headlights are going to sweep both of our houses. It's going to be annoying and unsafe, in my opinion. And the last thing is stormwater is an issue in their neighborhood. the system is so old, so many clogged catch basins, clogged ditches, that it overflows in a heavy rain, comes down the streets and often floods in front of my house. And the golf course is going to tie into that storm sewer and add more impervious surface on it. It's not going to help the situation, I don't think. I know they took up 2.5 acres roughly of golf cart paths, which they didn't replace. So they gained some pervious surface that way. But the impervious surface they're adding is about the same amount, and it's going directly into the storm sewer. Golf cart paths just drained off into the golf course. So it's misleading when you think about how they're accounting for the stormwater. But it's a problem. It has been my whole life there. I've cleaned that storm sewer out many times myself when Mother's sitting out there in the rain because it's flooding the street. But anyway, it's I urge you not to approve this project. I don't think it's good for our neighborhood. Our street is called Longview for a reason. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Technology. Bo Prevost? Sorry.
Prevo.
Prevo.
My name is and I thank you for the opportunity and about the Longview project. And first of all, I also wish to express my gratitude to the Raines Group for doing what they said they would do, restore the historic inn and rebuild the golf course into a first-class venue. I grew up on this golf course, and I am thankful it will remain an important part of the community. I do, however, disagree with the construction of 12 residential units on 3.9 acres on this site. I have never lived on Longview Drive, but I do drive and walk it frequently. I am concerned about disturbing the integrity of the neighborhood and the golf course itself. On these past rainy days we have had, I was looking through family pictures and found a brochure dated June 13th through the 18th, 1954. The Waynesville Country Club was selected to host the North Carolina Women's Golf Association Championship Tournament. The brochure was mailed, this is the brochure. The brochure was mailed across the state, the golf clubs inviting them to come to the mountains. The picture on the cover, taken 70 years ago, is the exact same location which is being discussed tonight. The hole shown is number 15, and tee to green ran alongside Longview Drive. Golfers drove over the hill and then hit over the road up to the elevated green. The picture was taken from behind the green and is almost identical to what we see today. My feeling is that in 1954, the owners and the members, both women and men members, chose this site to showcase their course across the state because they considered it their crown jewel. Fast forward 70 years, and I still see this as the crown jewel. I feel this property should be protected as best as possible. And in closing, I would like to read to you the invitation that went out across the state to all these golfers. Waynesville is just a tiny speck on the map, but we here feel it makes up in beauty what it may lack in size. The citizens of Waynesville are proud that the North Carolina Women's Golf Association chose our community for their tournament this year. And we are happy to augment our mountain scenery and with so much talent. This little note is just to welcome each and every one of you and extend our fond wishes that you have the best time ever, win or lose. The members of the Waynesville Golf Club have worked hard to make this tournament a success, and we hope you will feel that each one of them is your personal host. So I thank you, and if you would like to see this brochure, I'm happy to bring it to you and leave it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Greenwood, could you allow the clerk to make a photocopy of that for the record?
Yes.
Just don't let
Well,
Alex and Casey know.
If, yeah.
Same location.
We'll get a digital copy this evening and return it to you again.
Alex, get a hold of it, it's gone.
Oh. Jay Hamry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, town council members. I'm happy to be here. As my wife said, we moved here full-time in December to enjoy the beautiful views. Found out that they might be disrupted. By the way, I am a member at Waynesville Inn and Golf. Love it. They've done a great job. I don't agree with what they're doing for this development. The wording in the proposal said, relax the land development standards. It feels more like they want to eliminate those standards because almost every one of them said not apply. What I just learned was driveways are supposed to be 40 feet apart. I'm going to use lot 12, which is the one that will disrupt my view the most. I stepped off that lot, flat parked from the existing golf cart to the steep hill was exactly 10 paces. That's 30 feet wide for almost the whole buildable part, unless it goes down a steep hill, which I stepped off another 5 steps, and it was 15 feet below that. I don't know how they're going to fit that in, but when I asked Mr. Bradshaw at one of the meetings at the club about how they were going to fit lot 12 in, he said, well, we can't fit it in. It's not a usable space unless we get these variants approved. As far as, they also mentioned that all 12 units will require membership to the golf course, and that means short-term rentals. But if I've got a 3,000 square foot house, I'm going to have 8 guys in the house, and whereas all these guys that come from any part of South Carolina, North Carolina, where are they going to park? They got one space. I can't see, there's going to be at least 4 cars per rental. I don't know how that will work. And by the way, I don't agree that it's not lot size. Bradshaw just did it, said he could get variances and work that its lot width. I just stepped this off. It's 1, 2, 3, 10 feet. And he said the lot size is, well, that's, if the next house that wants to build and get the lot owner to agree to it, they can go across that way. So that could be that these houses are 5 feet apart, 2 feet apart, overlapping. That I don't agree. There's nothing, as the attorney said, there's nothing that will mandate what they have to do in writing. So,
thank you, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chris Owen?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, town council members. I'm Chris Owen. I live on Rolling Drive. I live in a house that my grandfather built in 1959. It overlooked the par 3 dogwood number 7, a beautiful view of the green. Though Prevo actually owns a property adjacent to there, so she knows how beautiful it used to be. The view was obstructed in the 90s by the previous club owners, maybe even two owners before, by planting a whole row of white pine that obstructed our view of the golf course. There was no town council meeting on that decision to plant trees. Then the layout of the course was changed to where that golf hole no longer existed. So the whole reason for my grandfather building that house on that property went away. But you know what? I'm happy that the golf course stayed. So my grandfather, William Boyd Owen, he worked as a doctor in the county. He might have even, if y'all are native from Haywood County, he might have even delivered you. And if he didn't do it, it might have been his brother, Robert Owen. So his love was golf and this course, and Waynesville Country Club was a tool for a long time. However, having gone into disrepair and going up for sale 2 years ago, I was fearful that the club would go away. The golf course would no longer be, and it would be developed in its entirety, and we would all lose our view at that point. So I think it's important for us as in the community and in the neighborhood, those of us who have enjoyed this. I'm raising a fourth generation in the home of my grandfather, who will also hopefully be a fourth generation golfer. But I think it's important for us to recognize that in order for it to maintain as a golf course, the ownership needs to have positive revenue and it needs to be economically viable. They've created an economic engine for us here in the town, hiring hundreds, even mill workers who had to leave Canton. They've created a top 200 golf resort in the country, bringing in a huge amount of financial benefit to the town, to the county. And if we continue to put roadblocks in front of their way, because they haven't had a very pleasant reception to the meetings that I've been in here, especially the last week, the noise ordinance change that came down. So let's welcome our friends, our neighbors. They're allowing Tuscola, Pisgah, Waynesville Middle School, and Western Carolina to play on our course. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm for the development. FYI.
Catherine Topol.
Good evening. Thank you all for your time today. My name is Catherine Topol. I represent my family who's had a home overlooking Longview for almost 100 years. We support the country club. We're thrilled that it has remained a golf course, and we certainly want it to be economically viable. My family, we stand with the concerns over all of the requests for the exemptions, namely the setbacks. We feel like exceptions to the design standards compromises our growth as a desirable city. You have one chance to build a city, and part of my concern was that if the golf course did not remain a golf course in the future, then we were going to have this hopefully awkward and very dense development happening there at Longview. The developer mentioned manipulating the lot size and extending it out into the golf course in order to meet the lot size requirement. That to me is kind of like new math. I think it just doesn't eliminate the setback issue. And during the neighborhood meetings that I've attended, we were told that the houses would be about 20 feet apart. I have a number of pictures here that are taken from around Waynesville. May I hand you these? What I'll do tomorrow, so there are a number of, there are 4 pictures here taken around Waynesville that show, I went out with a measuring tape and horribly embarrassed showing what is 20 feet, give you a perspective of how 20 feet appears. Here is the D.R. Horton Wildbrook Village development that is happening on Jonathan Creek, and you can see that these two homes are very close. I don't know if any of you have ever seen and driven by and maybe been a little bit surprised by how close together they are. I measure them, they're 22 feet, 8 inches. So in fact, what will happen at Longview may indeed be much narrower than what's happening now. I stand against it as the exceptions. I'm for the development, but only if it applies to the code of our development standards. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Carol Flechter.
First, I don't know if am I talking right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
First, I want to thank you all for allowing us to share our concerns. I appreciate what this club has done, the improvements they've made, and I really am grateful for that, but I do not support their decision, what they're planning to do on loan. Waynesville, of course, has established zoning requirements and for areas in our town, and of course, we're in a low-density district. The setback, there's too many variants. The setbacks and any other exceptions to the zoning ordinance, if they're taken, as they request, if these are allowed, then to me, it absolutely is not compatible with our neighborhood. And to me, that's one of the most important things. It is not compatible. There's too many houses would be too close together along Longview. So my request is that the current requirements that you all have set up remain unchanged. And that would continue to preserve and protect where we live. And thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, ma'am.
Lene McAden.
Mayor, Town Council, thank you for your time. My name is Linnea McAden. I live on Longview Drive. I agree with everything that has been said here tonight as far as the width of the lots. It's the primary concern. I don't think many people, does it matter that they're a tenth of an acre or quarter acre? I think what everybody is trying to say is they need to be wider. I did an approximate measurement of every frontage on Longview that faces this development. He mentioned the other end of Longview from my house down. I didn't get a chance to measure those, but the ones that I did measure that face the future development, each of the widths measure. The smallest one is 80 feet, 60 feet, maybe, but 8 out of 10 of them are over 100 feet. Mr. Hamry's is around 200 feet. Mine is over 200 feet, which gives appropriate spacing to the home. And I don't agree with the idea that the golf course would become civic space. Children can't play on a golf course. I mean, they can play golf on a golf course, but that's all you can do. It's tied to the golf course. And they're requiring, if investors buy the property for short-term rentals or long-term rentals, the golf course is going to require them, Mr. Raines has stated in a neighborhood meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, they will require that the golf course management will have to manage the rental. So they'll get income back. If the more investors that buy them, the more income they'll get from renting them. And they'll probably do golf packages or whatever. But to me, when the houses are packed so tightly together, it's going to encourage that type of thing. There's no parking for it. And the neighborhood is not going to be homogeneous. It's going to be a departure from what this neighborhood is. The houses that are built here are typically one story. They're quaint in design and individually unique. what they're saying that they're gonna build, and there's no guarantee because they're gonna sell the lots to individuals to develop individually, but they haven't given us anything in writing that they're just saying, oh, we're gonna have a architectural review committee. But there's no guarantee of what they're gonna permit. And I disagree with waiving the setback. None of us waived our setbacks when our houses were built. And I recently did renovations on my house, but I wasn't allowed to build up to my neighbor's lot line. So that's not consistent with the neighborhood. But I think most people would be happier if they would maybe do 1 or 2 less lots and just make them wider. Because just adding area to the back of it where they're just gonna take an easement back to play golf on, it wouldn't make a difference in the appearance from street side. Right?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Bobby Curris, or maybe that's season L, Bobby Luris. Is there a Bobby in the house? Okay. Marty Prevo.
I'm Marty Prebo, and I do live in the Waynesville Country Club too. And we are thrilled with the development that has been built and has been improved. We're thrilled with the Rains being here, and we support that tremendously. But we need more compatibility in our neighborhood with the density that we don't. High density that is being proposed. And my request too, that if this development does go through, that they would please give consideration to the McCracken and the Gilbert, that the exit would come out from the road right into their view. I mean, it would be at the same level of the houses that would be built. They would lose everything. They've been there for, gosh, the McCrackens have been there for what, 25 years? But I mean, your mom and dad were there long time before y'all came, and so it's been in their family for 60 years. And that view has always been right there, but that is a big consideration because the lay of the land, the road comes down this way, and here's the bottom, and there's where the McCracken's house is, and the Gilbert house. So it's a catch basin for water. It is. It's at the same elevation of where that road would come out. Thank you.
Those are all the cards we received from the public.
All right, thank you all for your input, and I will concur with the board here. And if anyone has any more questions or would need any more expert witnesses you would like to ask to come back up to the podium to speak for the applicant, was any of you guys ask for any of the applicants to come back up for questions? Chuck? Okay. Julie?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So before the board moves in, I'm sorry.
Patrick.
I was just gonna advise the board of their options in light of them not having any more questions for staff or the applicants. Do you wish to address the board again?
Did you also state in your opening that we would get a chance to rebut any opposition?
I don't believe that is in the policy. The board can make exceptions as they choose.
What are our options?
Okay, well, so we can either close the public hearing and be done with receiving evidence. That's up to the board. You can leave the public hearing open to provide an opportunity to the applicant to perhaps present additional information at the next board meeting that might address some of the concerns raised either by the board or members of the public this evening. Or the board can close the public hearing and continue its vote to the next meeting. The board can also close the public hearing and vote if the board is ready without any further evidence.
Okay, what would be the wishes of the board?
Patrick has indicated that he has more to say, so I'm certainly willing to hear that.
Hear that?
Yeah.
Does it need a motion? No, we'll need a motion in that order.
I would make a motion that we hear, what Patrick has to say.
Second.
I'll second. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
After second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sorry, brother.
We're sorry. I think we're all wore out.
We started at 4 o'clock with budgets.
Yeah, we've been working since 4 o'clock today on a budget.
And Patrick, this is the current amount of time remaining in the public hearing for the board's last motion.
Thank you. And I promise to be super brief, but I just felt compelled to hit on a few things. Ms. Bradley, I would just ask that the petitions that were submitted, and I'm not an attorney, don't profess to be one, but that sufficient standing be assigned if those are given regard.
So standing is only pertinent for a quasi judicial
Okay.
hearing. Since we're in a legislative hearing, the board is entitled to receive comments and letters from members
Opinions
of
and
the
otherwise.
public.
Fair enough. Thank you. I think there's a misconception between traffic and speed. Again, living at the furthest end of Longview Greenview, where it turns into Oakdale, I will agree wholeheartedly. We currently today have a speed issue on both Longview and Greenview. We do not nearly have a traffic issue by any stretch of the imagination. Traffic is cars backed up at red lights, stop signs, 10 and 12 feet 10 and 12 cars deep where it would delay your course of travel. What we have is a speed issue on those, and I would relay that to enforcement to our fine town police department. Short-term rentals, I live across the cul-de-sac from a short-term rental, so I share those things. I personally have an opinion that a good short-term rental is a lot better than a bad neighbor, but that's an opinion since we're submitting opinions here, because I've had both, and short-term renters ordinarily will leave at the end of a weekend or something like that. But again, I think that is a community question. And as I understand it, I think even our own state legislature has dabbled in that, but I don't know specifically that they have acted there. So in terms of stormwater that were mentioned, actually the golf course incurred costs as part of the redo of the golf course to extend new storm drains down to Farmer Branch. So while we cannot improve on off-site properties that don't belong to us, properties that do belong to us, that provision's already been made. So the clogging of days of old, once it finds golf course property, those are abated. Along with the town's efforts, we wanted to coordinate with them. We had a terribly failing sewer line across Farmer Branch, and the town graciously replaced that during the course of construction to help, reduce I&I and all those things. I will back up just quickly and I know what it is to give public statements to something that Chris Owens said. I certainly appreciate his comments. I don't want this board to hear that Raines feels like, or Waynesville and Golf, that they have not been accepted by the town. We have had many fruitful meetings with the town of Waynesville. We have had our share of spirited meetings at this point with the town of Waynesville. That is part of the process. I absolutely do not begrudge any person here for speaking their piece. As if I were a neighbor, I would certainly speak mine. So that is, like I say, we've kept it largely at a professional level. That is much appreciated. Again, I hear a lot about the width of lots. 60 feet, we're there. We're fine to not build in an area
that is less than 60 feet wide on a flag lot, if you will. That's, if that is a concession, again, those are per the district requirements. We didn't set up 60. Folks, I think Emily Clark in about 2000 served with a planning board that had Rex Factor, as I recall, and a host of other folks, 25 years ago that put our land development standard together. And that's where that number came from. We didn't come up with 60 feet. They felt like it was appropriate because they were looking out at the 2020 plan and what has now become a 2035. And that's where that can make sense. And in civic space, this is my last point and I'll close. It is to be for the public, but a civic space, for instance, is not intended to be available to all the public. So to use the Sunnyside or John Queen development as an example, that civic space is publicly available to folks within that development. That's the extent of that public availability. It's not for someone from Allen's Creek to be able to come in and go and set up tents and camp and do all those things that they might want to do. So when we make this coincident that homeowners within these developments would be required to have a part of, a membership in the Waynesville Golf Club, it not only provides golf, but it provides a fitness center, it provides a swimming pool, and I'm sure other amenities are to come. So with that said, we can take care of the golfers, we can take care of the yoga folks, we can take care of any number of these people, kids, adults, seniors alike. So I think I just wanted to clarify that. I appreciate the additional time very much and appreciate your sticking with us through this process. I know it has been long and hard. Thank you.
Okay, again, I will ask
Right, so the first question is, does the board feel like they need additional evidence before it can reach a decision?
Yes.
Okay. So then, does the majority of the board agree? Or Councilman Sutton? The first decision is whether you close the public hearing. That's the first decision.
I think I would like to leave the public hearing. And the concerns I still have, they're echoed by many of the folks here, is that the development appears to be two things. I would really, I think that, and in fact, many of the folks who are opposed to the development like many things about the development. I think they like the heights of the property. They like the country club wanting to protect their views as much as possible by not planting big trees. I think maybe we could do a few more things with regard to conditions that we put on the use program. But what I would really like to see is for the developer to see if there's any way they can modify their plans to make the lots either a little bigger or to increase the space between the houses on the lots. I don't think it needs to be half an acre. I think more than half of the lots in that residential zoning district are less than half an acre. And a third of an acre is perhaps a little more in line with the rest of the neighborhood, and I think that would satisfy. Now, and in addition, if there is any way to protect Harry McCracken's view, I have looked at his house, and it really isn't big. Not that there's any legal obligation on the part of the country club to protect it. There's no, I don't see anything that requires the club to do anything. But if there was any way to give him some consideration, that would be very nice. So what I would like to do is leave the public hearing open and hope that perhaps the developer could meet with some of the citizens and see if, and come back to us with a different.
I agree with Chuck. Leave the public hearing open, and hope that the developers come back to us with some of the things that we are looking for, again, the density and setbacks and such. I just want to throw out, this is what I've heard tonight. This is some of the stuff that gives me angst about this whole process. These words have been spoken. Relax, speculations, waivers, variances, exceptions, concessions, and considerations. That speaks volumes about the landowners and the people that already exist within the country club community. And not a one of them spoke against the country club. So this has nothing to do with Rains Corporation, Waynesville Inn and Golf. I mean, that means nothing because it means so much to this community. We need that country club and we are thrilled to have it. But we also need to take care of those individuals that have been here in our community, our taxpayers in this community. And we need to respect their wishes and get them to considerations as one of the terms there. So I would encourage you to keep it open and see if we can come to some more common ground somehow.
And Patrick, there is an open area on the site. I don't think maybe enough for civic space. I don't know.
You're being asked a question.
The primary reason is we felt like it was just below Longview Road, upslope of the sidewalk. And quite honestly, a lot of it's a sloped embankment and thought it was rather disingenuous to tout that as civic space. Okay. Just to be quite honest. I'm glad to wrap a boundary around it and assign an acreage to it. But, again, we come, and I think the desire, and I would just ask the board's consideration here. We have been at this for a while. And that is true not only for Rains and our team. We've met. Part of the problem that we hear, and I'm not grandstanding here, is we hear many mixed things. It's not wide enough. Well, we have staff telling us we meet the width. Why would we go wider than when we can meet our lot size by additional acreage? We are comfortable with you taking an action tonight. If so, with such conditions, we would appreciate that very much. As we get into summer breaks and all the things that are forthcoming before us, because we can convene another neighborhood meeting. We have tried in earnest, and what we have largely heard is you've got too many houses, take it from 12 to 6 to 8. That's not financially viable. And I can tell you what happens at 6 or 8 is the houses go to 5,000 and 6,000 square feet, and we wouldn't be reducing the height to 35. That's just, it's got to make sense economically, to go down this path. So I would just, for the board, we're approaching a 4-month time from our initial application.
So what I've heard from the board, I haven't heard the board say that there's additional evidence that they want to hear. The board is concerned with the conditions that the developer would accept, which is something that happens outside of the public hearing.
Yes.
So if there's additional evidence that the board wants to hear, then we can keep the public hearing open and no problem. But we don't need to keep the public hearing open to negotiate conditions with the developer.
We could negotiate lot size.
That could be one of the conditions, yes.
And setbacks. And
those are all conditions to be negotiated with the developer.
but if we propose it and the developer, if we close the public hearing, we can't get feedback from the developer.
Not on evidence, but staff can meet with the developer and discuss conditions.
Okay.
If I think I'm hearing we're down to like a couple of things.
Well,
I don't know that, but I can't get more top brass here than Gray Rains. We have his benefit here tonight. I don't need to make a phone call. I don't need to step out. He's in the room, and we're ready in public forum to see if y'all are, to try to figure out what that looks like. We have met. It is terribly difficult to convene, a larger group for their voice to be heard. Some are represented by an attorney, some are not. It's differing interests, and I don't want to underappreciate that. But at the same time, I do ask for consideration of we've been at this for 4 months from initial application and are yet, I'm fearful that it gets kicked again and then something can't make that meeting. And so these are just real concerns.
I am opposed to continuing this. I don't need any more information. I walked the property with Mr. Bradshaw, and I think it's the project has many good features. But I am troubled by several aspects of this, including all of the things that have been mentioned. I am troubled by the planning board denying the request. I've tried to recall an instance where the planning board actually declined to recommend something, and it was even brought to the um, town council, much less approved over the objections or the decline of the planning board. I am also both heartened and moved by the opposition, the significant opposition um, by many of the residents in the location. And I appreciate both the folks who have spoken in opposition of this tonight, as well as those that have voiced support from that. And we all know that there have been a significant number of input, a significant amount of input via email and phone calls and what have you, over and above what we have seen here tonight. I am terribly troubled by the removal of the setback requirements and the fire codes mentioned. I think Emily said 10 feet, which is not a lot. And I also want, and this is not specific to this particular development, but more generally, one of the things that we often key on is that a development promotes a range of housing opportunities. And this does not do that, in my opinion. It does it for a very finite set of buyers, potentially. And many of those folks, I would hazard to guess, do not live in Waynesville. So for all of those reasons, I applaud your team. I applaud the owners of the club. You guys have done fantastic stuff. I was proud to support the Greenview development, but I cannot support this as listed with 12 hot home sites on that lot.
So what I'm hearing is we need to close the public hearing and then have a discussion among the board.
Sounds like
That's
the board is ready
consensus.
for a discussion, not more evidence.
I move we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So I decide.
So the next question is the board ready to take action tonight, or does the board wish to schedule a vote on this district on the next agenda of the board meeting, allowing staff time to negotiate conditions of the development?
I am not opposed to that if the developer is interested in that, although I absolutely unequivocally agree with Patrick that this has been going on for a long time and it's hard on both parties. It's a challenge for staff. It's a challenge for everybody. So I'm not drawing a line in the sand and saying no, but I realize that the clock is ticking.
And anything that the staff negotiates would still be subject to approval by the board. So you would not be required to accept those conditions if you did not feel that they met your concerns.
Because I have an idea, we did a straight up vote right now what the outcome would be, and it would not be beneficial to the developer.
You can also move for a vote tonight if you feel like it's the best option based on your judgment.
But I want to be, I want to be careful with the developer in that we're not saying that you can't develop anything. I think that it should come with conditions. And I think we are at the point of this evening that they've asked for 9 variances. We need to get that whittled down to closer to 0. I believe.
Would the board be satisfied? As your lawyer, have heard and understood your concerns. Would the board be satisfied with directing me to negotiate with the developer based on your instruction to me? And then we can come back either with a list that I know will meet with your approval or a report from you that we were not able to make common ground on conditions that I felt would satisfy the authority you've given me.
Is the developer okay with that?
And primary concern, and I'm just looking at the calendar, and Mr. Mayor, I apologize, probably didn't have my best listening ears on. But is the next meeting already continuing or?
No,
The next meeting is scheduled.
The 28th.
28th.
Yes.
28th.
It's 2 weeks.
We are
With-
having that meeting.
With a solid commitment from all parties to make it happen, to be heard there, I think we can support that. Again, it's been a long night. We've all had long, appreciate it. But at the same time, when I start looking beyond that May date, it's 2 weeks here, I'm going there.
I think I can guarantee that we will have a definitive answer for you, yes or no, on the 28th.
I think
Right,
we can
is that
absolutely get down to brass tacks and tell the board what's going to happen by then.
Fair enough. We can absolutely have a commitment and develop a little this as hard as we can. We'll look at it.
Chuck, I see your.
Well, I was gonna say, you didn't exactly say how you might vote, Gary, but I think it's probably fair to say that I think it would be a good idea for the developer. I don't think we want us to vote on it.
Yeah, I think we agree with that. Yeah. Like I say, I just don't want to miss, and I've said.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. I want to be fair to the developer because I think if it were a hard line tonight, it would not go in your favor.
We'll appreciate
And I haven't even said which way I'll vote, and I can feel the temperature of the board.
I'll work with development services and the development services and the developer. Say that 3 times now. To come up with, based on the board's concerns tonight, any private instructions you give to me under the seal of privilege, to make sure that we accommodate the board's concerns, staff's input, and see if we can find some common ground with the developer to come up with some solutions that the board would find satisfactory.
I'm good with that. Y'all good with that?
I'm good with that.
All right.
And to that end, we have no problem, as long as it can be constructed, for public members to be part of that, because we don't want to shut them out. That is not our MO. We have been as transparent from day one as we can be. But at the same time, if you folks, as the elected board, are the ones imposing conditions, and that is, provided in Martha, Ms. Bradley, then we need to have our discussion straight on without the benefit of interruption. So again, I would invite them to that and understand what the give, take, push, pull is, in the spirit of transparency, if this board so sees fit.
So if any person wishes to receive an invitation to a meeting between myself and the developer where they'd like to give input, please provide an email address to the town clerk so that we may contact you. It won't be a public meeting, so there won't be a press announcement. It would just be a list of individuals who wish to receive a direct email communication advising that you are welcome to attend.
I think up to 2 council members can attend as well.
Correct.
Not 3, but 2.
That's correct. If 3 of you show up, I'll be kicking one of you out.
Yeah, only 2 members could be able to show up for that.
We will.
I move we continue our vote until May.
I'll second.
Got a motion and second by Anthony. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, show like sign. Okay, thank you. And thank you all. We still got some more work to do. We got another public hearing.
Can we take a 2-minute?
Sure. Mayor. Yeah, we got another public hearing.
Mayor,
Can we take a 2 minutes? So I think clear. Yeah.
You want to postpone this to the. Okay, so the 11th of June, the first meeting in June.
I don't think that's what that agreed to. I think
No, I'm talking about Olga's next one.
Oh, yeah.
The next one.
Yeah. We can shut the meeting down then.
We're gonna.
Did you said we were gonna do that today?
First meeting in June. So I can.
Do I say that was okay? Bye-bye. All right.
First meeting in June.
I'll look at the. That's on our very first meeting. Give me 2 seconds.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we're gonna take another 5-minute break. So y'all will hurry, come back in 5 minutes, we'll get started again. Thank you.
We'll connect on calendars tomorrow. We'll take one stand. See your next. Thanks. We appreciate
Anthony, Chuck, and Chuck's a real estate lawyer. Anthony's a real estate. I mean, he's better work for that. I don't think Mark.
throw everything out of it. All their red lines.
Thank you.
I think they'll go.
I was just gonna say that.
Thanks, Brenda. Keep it on.
Anything one of those different says, I like another two. Anthony and Chuck are the one.
It's a marathon.
Completely inappropriate, but we do not have a ball. Guess where she's going to school? South Carolina. But how dare she? But
It's the wrong Carolina.
well, it was between Carolina, and she ended up at South Carolina. Way more money.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna ruin some of the.
I know, and I'm like, but Jimmy, corporate back is beautiful.
It's down by Columbia. I'm like, gorgeous. It's a lot like Savannah. It's teal. Yeah, it's very laid back, southern.
See, I've never been until we went to our new.
You know, it's not, if somebody built
They
a
got
house
lots of great
below
trees.
their door,
Anyway.
I don't believe they have a right. Who was that? Oh, really? She loved it.
Correct. Anthony's already got the.
Probably got a lot more zoning than that, yeah. I wasn't happy.
All right, Mr. Mayor.
He brought up and,
All right, guys, we better get back started. We're going to,
Second.
We need a motion to continue that
Mr.
public.
Sutton needs a moment to prepare his
Sutton?
thoughts.
Yes, to get my,
We moved to continue the vote.
yes, we moved that, but I'm trying to get the first meeting in June. It's
11th.
June the 11th.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd like to entertain a motion to move item 6,
Correct.
which is public hearing to consider a text amendment to the first meeting in June, which is June the 11th.
Okay, got a motion? Second by Chuck, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we move on. All right, we're going to item 7, interview logistics for Waynesville Housing Authority applicants.
I only have 3 variants.
Do you have any considerations, concessions, exceptions?
I would like you to consider the following.
Relaxations.
So we have 3 applicants for the Waynesville Housing Authority, and essentially what I'm just here to do, even though I left my pen back there, is to ask the board, again, kind of following y'all's policy you set a couple years ago, is who is going to interview these folks and when are they going to interview these folks?
Again, the retiree will be glad to.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I've got Dixon.
Anyone else?
If I'm available, I'll help.
Okay. Anthony? All right, you got Anthony and Chuck.
With that, I will reach out to you guys privately and we'll set up a date with you, me.
How many slots are open?
I don't know, Candace?
There's 1 slot open, but several members are rolling off June 30th. So what's nice is if you guys will be able to interview everyone and if you would like them, you can appoint some of the other members.
Well, these are
So
three-
that's done.
These are 3 really good.
Uh,
3 really good applicants. Looks like to me.
And I'd like to make a reminder to the mayor that we did pull the item off the consent to discuss.
Oh, you pulled that off about.
The removal of absentee board commissioner members.
You talking about the Hazelwood?
No. Item I of the consent agenda.
Oh, item 8.
Aye.
Oh,
Why don't we let Julie go on first?
Yes, absolutely.
Julie actually isn't allowed to leave.
Yes, okay.
She's checking the
I think you're
LED.
correct.
All right.
Yes.
Julie Grassley, you're up. Award the new janitorial contract for town facilities, Georgia Grassley, Asset Service Manager.
Okay, our current contract will end on June 30th. We did extend it 1 time past the original contract period. And so we sent it out to 8 firms, had 4 walkthroughs, and we received 4 bids. The bid tabulation is attached. After vetting the lowest bidder, it is the recommendation of staff to go to the second lowest responsible bidder, and that is Clean Environment of Asheville. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Who are we, I forgot who.
Our current one is Asset Commercial Services. Yeah.
How much are we paying them now?
We are paying them $74,000 annually. So this is an increase of right at $12,000.
Are they doing the same thing, just costing us more money?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
I think they figured out that low bid sometimes can.
Yeah.
It's an increase of 50%.
Yeah.
It seems like we're always doing these contracts for
We are.
janitorial.
This is my last one before I retire.
Oh, then we should have done something else before we did this. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to award the janitorial contract to Clean Environments of Asheville Incorporated with the contract ending June 30th, 2025 in the amount of $86,336.04 annually.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, your light sign.
That's 2026.
Does that say 26?
You said 25, but
It's on, in our packet, it says 25.
oh, it's 2026.
Okay.
So it's a
Do we
2-year
need to make
contract.
that 2 years?
2 years. Okay. Amend my.
All right, thank you, Julie.
All right. Good night.
Yeah, good night, really.
Morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good day and good night.
All right, we're moving on.
Now we can take up
Manager's report.
We got two more items.
We need to.
Hazelwood Park.
Oh, yeah,
has his
Hazelwood
hand
Park,
up.
and I am
No,
so
the-
sorry,
no,
Anthony.
There's two, removal of absent board commission members that John wanted to talk about.
Okay, this is a property that's asking for a 15-minute parking sign put in that last parking spot, is that correct?
You will do yours next. Yes, sir. We got the packet. I would recommend that we have staff review their recommendations and bring us a recommendation at the next meeting.
At the next meeting, okay. Second. All right, good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You better not.
Now we need to talk about the removal of absent board and commissioner members that John removed from the consent agenda and added to the general.
So, I, reached out to Peggy and, she is dealing with, maybe I've got a soft spot, for her. Her sister is, dealing with something similar, to my mother. And, I feel like she is, a valuable member of that, board. But I also understand that she has not been able to meet, and I don't know, when her situation will change. I would say that it will change sooner rather than later, and I would be disappointed to lose her voice on the planning board, given the fact that she does intend, once her obligations to her family are changed, to return to active service. So I would advocate that we do not remove Peggy from the planning board.
My concern is that she's not been at a meeting since July of last year, so we're going on 11 months without a voice. And you saw how we had how many board members do we have? We have 9 at this point, and our last vote that we just voted on was 7 people. We could really have used someone that was present to do that. I'm not saying that she can't reapply and be reappointed at the time that something happens with her family member. But I think we need to have that vacancy filled because of the decision they're making.
I agree. She can always be.
And my heart goes out to that as well.
100%, I agree. My heart goes out. Family's everything in this world to us, but I think it's a disservice to those planning board members who show up repeatedly every single month. And that's one of the hardest jobs in the whole organization and the whole town. The stuff that they trudge through and do, and it is a disservice the fact that they're doing it on their own and not having the representation, the support, and the knowledge and the input from other board members. So, yeah, I think that's an excessive amount of absences that are unexcused in a sense, and that again, she can in the future apply to go back on the planning board, ask for us or any other commission board that we've not set. So.
I would just like to point out in response to point Anthony raised that this has gone back to last July, and if I'm not mistaken, that was just about the time she got word about her sister. So just
okay. So there's a motion to.
I don't think it was malicious at all. I think she's still in the
I move that we remove both the board member and the commission set forth and
advertise for a replacement.
Right. Well, yeah, it's automatic.
Yeah,
I'll second.
We passed it.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Oh, shall that sign?
nay.
Okay. All right. We move right on to.
But yeah, we would need a new member.
Yeah. But that'll it's mandatory, so it'll happen on.
All right. We move on to manager's report. Rob, you have anything?
I'll take a pass tonight.
You gonna take a pass?
Yes, sir. I apologize so much.
All right, so Rob's taking a pass. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I think y'all have heard from me enough, so.
Yeah, we'll take, but no, I'll do that in the communication. Yeah, I'll wait to do that. I'll wait to crown you later. Town attorney?
I'm happy with
Oh, no, you all have heard from me enough.
Didn't hurt you. I thank you for your input. You have done really, really a great job, you know, getting us through that public hearing there. There was a lot of work there. And so I want to thank you on behalf.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Okay, move on to communication from staff. Chuck? Nothing. Julia?
No, sir.
John?
I would just
Whoa,
like.
wait a minute. I would like to say that John and I attended a ribbon cutting at Mountain Brook?
Mountain Creek.
Mountain Creek Apartments. And I asked John to go, reason being because it was his idea about the 20% room, is that correct?
Yes.
The 20% room that we asked them to hold back for affordable housing. And so I'm gonna ask John to give a report on that.
So, we, at the, ribbon cutting, which that place is beautiful. If y'all haven't been there, it's really, really nice. So I asked both the property manager and the representative from Tribridge, Catherine, I think was her name, about where they stood as far as there are 20 units that were set aside for income levels at 80% of the AMI. And they said they are full up and actually have a waiting list for those apartments. And she credited many of the social support organizations like Mountain Projects, for example, in the area that are feeding those applicants to them. And she said that that is not the case in other developments that they have. They have something similar down in Atlanta, and they can't find people to fill those vacancies. And so now I know that there were some actual stipulations in the agreement that we have to receive some reports on that process. And so I felt great about the conversation that we had, but I do want to follow through with those the actual reports and see just to make sure that we are getting our money's worth, so to speak.
Yeah, thanks for going with me, and that was one of the things I asked him for him to ask them himself, because that was his project there. Okay.
I'll make mine very brief. I will be going to the North Carolina Transportation Summit next week as the chair of the French Broad River NPO in Greensboro on Tuesday and Wednesday. So that's exciting to go and represent it.
And Mr. Mayor, I forgot, I missed the last meeting that I did attend the state interview. We invited us 2 days, and it was very good. I think it was probably even better.
Okay, yeah,
lots of folks in the state energy office.
Yeah, so that also went well.
Oh yeah, learned a lot.
Yeah, good.
And I have wonderful pictures of me inside the Interstate 26 bridge before they poured it closed that I would share with you. That was very scary, standing on just a piece of plywood above the Interstate 26.
Ooh,
wow.
Yeah, that was exciting. And they're doing lots of work coming this way. As you know, Russ Avenue is moving along, as well as Great Smoky Expressway.
Yeah. Okay. And what I've got, I can talk abroad. So we
Okay.
can ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second with George, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, thank you all. That's actually.